When I worked at Walt Disney's for 6 years, 9 months of those was spent in what they call the special effects department. One unit was run by George Rowley, and he taught me a great deal. You remember him because he animated the special effects in the Ten Commandments. So I appreciated it later when I went over to Walter Lantz, where each animator had to do his own effects. And here are a few examples of the things that I learned. The ancient Greeks said the earth was composed of 4 elements: earth, air, water, fourth one, fire. I've done 3 drawings, called for 3 drawings of the little candle flame, and that's why this is number 6. But here's our chart. Just an ordinary slow out, from 1 to 6, and 5 is halfway. Now here, the candle flame drags. That's not too hard to explain. Drags, all dragging. This little flame bits, they would just go up mostly and get out. So now we slow into a 17. Here's your slow in, a deceleration on that. See, it comes to the, and what it does not do is this, because it has no weight, it just comes to a stop like this and trembles. There might be a little bit of a overlap, but that's from the air that's being dragged as we move the candle from here to there, and the air comes with it. So it might just flipper a little this way, but generally it will just go, and there it is. This is a good-sized campfire, I would say. There's drawing number 1. Number 3, keep stuff going up, up, up. You can see how they break, fall apart. And this central color here is, it's hot gases, I think. But in any case, it's not, it's just in there, it looks better. And then there's number 5. Number 7 gets back to number 1. And so if I just roll them, you should be able to see the cycle. This is some ordinary smoke from a good-sized fire, I'd say. And we want to put lots of in-betweens in a thing like this because we can slow it down. I remember doing a volcano for Walter Lantz. It was something travesty on east of Java or something, and it was Woody and it was perpetual villain Buzz Buzzard. So there's 1, and number 5. And what I do here is these various lumps, I label them so that we know they're going that way, and the assistant can in between them intelligently. See? There's. And these things can be made very beautiful. These things are always arcs. You don't get any shapes with points to them, right? Like that. Here is a steam coming from something like a pot or a cup of coffee. We necessarily work in black, and they can do a lot of tricks with it. They can reverse it from black to white, then they can shoot at partial exposure, out of focus, and you have some pretty good looking steam. Now these letters here are to indicate the masses that are going up, and they go fast for a while and then slow down. That's why they're a lot more distance apart here and here. So I come here now, and I'm putting the A's and B's in black because they can always take them out. And A and B and B. So what I can do is just coincide these marks like that, and then rough them in, make a loose tracing of them, because we know that they'll be changing, but not too much. So this part I just kind of fake and go down. And this is where you can have a lot of fun with thick and thin. This is a very soft pencil. And you can have round the curves, have a nice thick and thin, and it'll look very good when you do it, like that. So now we have a chart here for this portion. These are even thirds, 4 is halfway, 5 and 6 halfway. This may not flip because they're so far apart, but it might. You've got to tell yourself that this mass here is going to here, and then this one is going up to there, and we can fake more stuff that's dissipating. Whatever you do, especially when you get to be dissipating, make sure that nothing pops off and then back. That looks terrible. So just work straight ahead as much as you can and get rid of these things. This would be click, click, maybe 2 more drawings gone. These 3 or 4 more drawings gone. And so that's all we got to do now is put in 4 and 10, and then the rest is easy. We have the first one coming out. It's going in this direction. And then we keep going more and more. This, I don't know what that is, just something to just go through, and it accelerates. There's our slow out, 1, 3, 4. You've seen many of those charts before. Now it starts to break up, and this is where we ordinarily as animators try to avoid this. We call this popcorn. But what are you going to do with it? In animation style, you've got to have hard lines so that they can be painted to. You can't have amorphous shapes such as real smoke because there's no way to do it that we know of in the first instant. But what we do, here it is looking really like popcorn, and then that would probably be the last one. And so you can see it very simply with no in-betweens, and you only see about 1/4 of the drawings there and there and there. But what we'll do now, we will call for this to be reversed. What is black here will become white in the computer, or you can do it in a Xerox machine. And then we'll shoot it out of focus. That will make it fuzzy, and we'll shoot it over black. And we do that because we cannot have it out of focus if there's a background behind it, because we can't separate the elements. So we isolate it by shooting it over black, out of focus, and it's white instead of black. Then we can double expose it in to the scene on its own level, and it'll look very nice. It looks like cartoon smoke. What do we expect? We see water all the time, and falling water, and water, the certain scales of water. We know how different ocean water looks from water pouring out of a faucet. Here's some water pouring out of a hose way up here somewhere. Not very much, maybe an inch diameter hose. Now the water comes out and it's in big globs like this, nice interesting shapes. And you will notice as it falls, it's going faster and faster. So really it's from there to about here, and then way down here, because it's gaining speed. Now as it gains speed, it separates, because there's only so much water, and the water that occupied this much up there now has to distribute itself through here, so it separates and gets into this. So instead of these nice big globs of water, it gets finer and finer and further apart until it's just coming down and drops. So exactly the same with the fountain. Goes up like this, divides, and as it comes down, it gets more and more just drop-like instead of these interesting shapes that you like. The scientists years ago dropped water drops down mine shafts and everything else. And this is what they look like when they come sailing past at 100 miles an hour, past the camera lens. They look like squashed peas. But we can't animate rain or anything like that because we've got to fill the 24 frames a second instead of the thousands or whatever it is of real life. So our convention, our cartoon convention, says that we should animate water drops in streaks like this. And it works better because when you photograph this motion picture camera, what you get is streaks because the shutter's open for that instant, and instead of looking like this, it looks like that or something like that. The same with the television camera. So we animate rain in streaks like this, falling water, because it looks good that way. We wouldn't get anywhere with this. It would just look like a bunch of dots in front of our eyes. Now, I did animate some rain here, and I took the lazy man's way out by making copies. I made an original, and I wanted to shoot it on a small field so that I wouldn't have to fill all this up. And as I'm animating the rain on a slant, like that, you can see that if I make copies, I'm going to run out of this one way or the other. So if I shoot it on a 9 field, I can fill it up nicely. Here's R2. I think that was the original. And that was R3, just to be different. And then 4 is a copy, or was, and this one too. Only 5 drawings. Now it looks a little sparse, because if you just run that and start off again, it just won't look like rain as far as I know. So what I have done here, I've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then I start that cycle again. 3, 4, 5, 1, 2 over here. Now, just to be funny, or just to try something, I went on to 1s here just to see what would happen. Right away, I can see I could have done something better. Much better. Here comes, but of all things, a bowling ball. We don't know quite where it came from, but it says bowling ball in, so we'll do that. Comes down. Now I do something. I have an upper and a lower splash because it's so much easier to animate it if it's split. You can have this side that flies out and comes toward you and all that, and the assistant won't have a terrible time figuring out what is what from the bottom and the top of the splash, so to speak. So I label this one U for upper, and I even indicate what's open. The ripples start, and then they start to break up all these shapes of water, and they go out, and they break up very rapidly because it's, if you must know, it's the inverse square law. That there's only so much water to go around, so it has to get thinner and thinner until it finally breaks up into drops. And we don't want to have a whole lot of stuff coming toward us. It's hard to depict, and it doesn't mean that much. You can see this, and it goes out and gets less and less of it. There, less and less, 12, let's see, I think, yeah, that's the end of it. I don't want the stuff coming down and landing on the surface because that way madness lies. Here we go. Now this works underneath what we've already done with corresponding numbers, of course. L1 works under U1 and upper and lower. Same sort of a thing, but you can see if you had to try and draw this with the other one on top and you're trying to make intelligent in-betweens, it would be very difficult to do. So this keeps on going. Now what happens is the bowling ball has made a hole in the water. Okay, then the sides of the water come back and collide about 8 frames after the bowling ball is done. So this stuff comes flying up. I say it's new. It comes up, all here, this is dissipating, as did the other. Got 2 at once. This is coming up, going out. There. And same thing with this. We don't want this stuff landing on the surface to complicate our lives. A lot of this comes up. This is the central spout, or you want to call it, and some of it starts to fall back. And pretty soon there's nothing very much left. Smaller and smaller it gets. These are all 4 frames apart, and that's the end of it. And that's all you want. You don't want all this stuff landing here, even though it might be logical, because it's it's just unnecessary. If you have convinced everybody that that's a bowling ball and that's a splash, that's all you need. So here's the wind coming through. It doesn't look like much right now, but what we'll do with it is expose it out of focus over black or something like that, and then double expose it in. And the being out of focus will give it a soft edge. This is not too good because it should be more irregular at the back. But you can see what I'm up to. And it goes out like that, and it will be partly exposed. I mean, you might expose it at 15 or 20%, just as a wild guess. I said 20% here. And it goes through. George Rowley taught me how to do these sparkles. He's the one that did a lot of the effects. In fact, he had a little company of people helping him on the 10 Commandments many years ago. And I didn't hear about it until too late, because I might have been working on that. So I've got 2. I made big so that you could see it. This would be the idea of a sparkle, say on a diamond. And you give it about 5 points is the best. 4 doesn't seem to be enough, and 6 gets a little bit too many. So, as I say, this is the same thing as that, only it's just big enough so that you can see it. And you just roll it, and it kind of rotates a little bit, and the various arms go out and retreat, and it'll work back into one. And you can make it go either way you like. See, either way it works nicely. Like that. That's how to do some sparkles. When you have death rays and things like that shooting through, in real life, it would suddenly be there, because it's going at electromagnetic speed. And so therefore, you wouldn't know which direction it came from. By doing this, here we go. Here this thing comes through. I'd put it on ones. So this would come through, and there's a fuzz, maybe some airbrush or dry brush. 2, 1, and 3. Then we would make 2 more drawings of this one, see? By doing this, we have brought it in, and we know where it came from. Otherwise, we just have this, bang, there it was. So I've called for the ink and paint or whatever to make R4 and R5, and then they would just expose them at random, so you'd get a shimmer. I've mentioned splats from time to time, and what they are is little enforcements, little strengtheners of something like a hit. Something hits something else, and instead of letting that be that, we put in this splat, and that's what a splat looks like. This, I think, I may have invented over at the Disney's one time. I put this when something hit the floor, and so I made it into an ellipse, and so that it would come out from underneath the character. And they questioned me on it, but they liked the way it looked, so I may have invented that. This is a circular splat, very similar in idea to an explosion. Now you go from there to there, all these lines of force just bursting outward, very much like an explosion. and then this, and so you can see how it works. 1, 2, 3, and gone, pops off. You don't want to be busy and have more of this. It's just too much. So 3 drawings. Now somebody else, probably by accident, discovered that if you exposed it in this fashion, splat 1, 2, then back to 1, and then 2, and then 3, you get a very nice vibration in there that accentuates. So you go 1, 2, boom, da-da-da-da, boom, da-da-da-da-do, like that, da-da-da-da. And that just, it's kind of a shock. So that's a staggered drawing. There's another application of staggered drawings for when you have a character that goes into a take, we'll say. Goes into a wild take up in the air, and I'll show you how they do that. He goes into the take, we'll say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is the take. Now what I do, I go all the way up to, say, 13, so that we got 7 in-betweens, and it goes like this, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Now that looks like a long time. Actually, it's only 2/3 of a second, 16 frames. What I do, I start exposing 7 there, then go 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 12, 13, and then cut it off, and he does something else. There. But see how this goes? 7, 5, 7, 6, 8, 7, 9, 8, 10, so on up. So you go up, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Very ordinary stuff these days, but that's what they call a staggered exposure, and that's how you would expose it. I'm going to do a little axe murder here. Not really, but this is an axe, and I'm not even bothering to put the character onto it because I want to show you just a few things of special effects. In this case, blurs and splats. Right away I can see I could have done something better. I anticipated here, and then this came over no frames. That's as fast as you can go. And here are the blurs with the leading edge leading, always the best. What I was talking about was that I could have exaggerated more, a great deal more. I should have gone way back here for that effects. So you can see it, I mean the anticipation. You can see it when I flip it, and you can see it there. Would have been much better. So anyway, we go ahead, and we don't know what it's going to hit. As a matter of fact, here it is, sinking into a log, and I animated a splat here, which I'll show you later. And here I've exposed it. Here's the axe, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then it settles down into 9. In the meantime, I've put a splat on top. Now, I did them all because I want to show you something. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. You can see it just dissipates. And you might even thin out the line. This would help with the shock of it. There wouldn't be a camera shake or anything silly like that. Now what I have done here is expose it in a peculiar way because it's stronger. I think this was just somebody's happy accident. I exposed it 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, and those were on 2. So you get a dilly, and it's just that funny little shock. You've got a reversal of these 2 drawings twice. Da 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 da. There's a famous story about Cy Young, who was an effects animator at Disney's. I may have met him a long time ago, and he was always stressing, study effects, whatever it is. Learn how these natural things occur and how you can do them. And one day, Ward Kimball, who of course was a character animator, was standing by his window. He had his very own room, and he was standing by the window, and it happened to be raining, even in California, and he heard the door open behind him, and he didn't deign to turn around. After a few seconds, he turned around, and there was Walt. So Ward, thinking fast, says, just studying effects, Walt, just studying effects.